Many of us have heard communism and collectivism thrown around like they are the same thing. There are differences that I would hope to explain in this video. Although philosophers like Plato advocated socialist ideas, the socialist movement originated in the French Revolution of 1789. Social and economic inequality led to the people being resentful of the crown. The third estate, which was the common person, supported the first and second state with their labor, the first and second state being royalty and nobles respectively. The poor had very little power in the society, yet they did most of the work. This led to radicals like Maximilien Robespierre and the Jacobins rising to power. This culminated in the storming of the Bastille, after which the Paris Commune was established. The Paris Commune was a pivotal point in human rights, the first being the abolition of feudalism and the Women's March on Versailles, in which a crowd of women stormed the royal palace and convinced the king to move to Paris. This was important in the women's rights movement, as it showed that they in fact had a lot of power. After the Commune, Karl Marx emerged with his works like the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. In his works, he describes that socialism is the only avenue to workers' freedom. Socialism is workers' control of the workplace democratically. This has examples even in a capitalist economy. Workers' cooperatives are businesses that are owned and operated by the workers themselves. These businesses aren't failing without leadership as many would think. Instead, cooperatives are more productive than traditional businesses and are better equipped to go through financial crises as well. Socialists see the boss as unnecessary and as stealing wages from the labor because of that. Market socialism would function mostly the same as a capitalist economy, but with more emphasis placed on the workers as opposed to profit. Socialism, under this definition, is advocated by most of the left, although social democrats and many authoritarians favor nationalization, state-controlled workplace. Anarchist communism was first developed by Gerard Winstanley in 1649 in his pamphlet, The New Law of Righteousness. He stated that there shall be no buying or selling, no fairs nor markets, but the whole earth shall be a common treasury for every man. And there shall be none lord over others, but every one shall be a lord of himself. Later on, Peter Kropotkin contributed much of what is associated with the anarchist communism, including differentiating private and personal property. Anarchist communism differs from syndicalism and collectivism, both in that beliefs in that workplace should be communal property as opposed to collective property, and that wage labor is not seen as necessary in a communist society. Many collectivists argue that we should have a system of labor vouchers that would be used in a sort of communal market to get goods. While many anarcho-communists and collectivists see this as a transitional period to communism, some collectivists also see this as permanent. The most underlying difference between the types of social anarchism is individualism versus collectivism. Communism sees the community as a whole would be better suited to prevent tyranny than individuals, while anarcho-collectivism, yes, I know the names get confusing, advocate a mix of collectivism and individualism. Collectivism as an economic theory is different than communism as a social and governing theory. Collectivism in the social theory is that you are prioritizing the community over the individual, and that community as a whole is stronger, united, than individuals alone. Syndicalism advocated more collectivism, but with the laborers as a whole, as opposed to the community. But what unites these all is the belief that there shouldn't be a state in these societies, and that these communities should be voluntarily associated as opposed to forcibly being associated, such as in authoritarian regimes. They believe that coercion and force is completely unnecessary unless provoked, as in self-defense. the unity of the people as opposed to a state, like involuntary associations, should be the power that reigns, not force.